This week's coffee is going to be Brazil, Fazenda, Lagoa, Yellow, Icatu. So hello everybody and welcome to episode 172. I'm your host Stephen Layton and today the date is the 27th of February 2012. And this week, as I've already told you, we're going to be talking about a Brazilian coffee, which means it comes from Brazil, called Fazenda, which means farm, Lagoa, which translates in Portuguese as pond, and Icatu, which is the fruit varietal, and yellow. Yellow is a colour you may have heard of before, my Brazil yellow t-shirt today, that's the colour. So this is a farm that I've tasted for a number of years and a farm I always tend to like, but I'm always very surprised that I like this farm, and I'm also very surprised that I like this varietal. So the reason I'm surprised I like this farm is that it's huge. I mean massive, I mean gigantic. So 820 hectares, of which 220 hectares of coffee, producing around about 7,000 bags a year, which is and then there's around about 600 hectares of coffee grown area, preserved forest area, which is well renowned throughout the world, and they have lots of different special bird species, and people from all around the world go to visit there because of their wonderful forest section. Owned by the Vieira family. This farm is in the Sul de Minas area, in Minas Gerais, not far from farms that we know, so Cachoeira and things like that, which you'll see in a little while when I do the map stuff. It's a pulp natural coffee, so this means that the fruit is removed using a depulping machine, and then all of the mucilage and seed is left to dry either on patios or on drying beds. A technique that is used a lot in countries, but rarely done as well as Brazil. For me, Brazil is the king of the Sierra de Escandado, which is pulp natural in Portuguese again. Quite often they'll refer to it as CD. But they are the kings, they do a great job with it. As I said, the varietal is called Yellow Icatu. Icatu is an unusual varietal linked very closely with IPAR 59 and super young. First found in 1985 and then officially released in 1993. It is an incredibly hardy, so very pest resistant. It is high yielding, crossbred, we think a little bit with Robusta. Very similar to things like Mundo Novo, which is a varietal we talked about on here before, and Catura. Leaf rust, very strong against. Stuff we were talking about when we were talking about the Colombia one. But this is a varietal that has continued to taste good whenever I've looked at it. So there is hope that we can have the best of both worlds. This Icatu, I've seen quite a lot in Cup of Excellence. So there must be positives in that cup. And I think that it's great that we've got a coffee that is delicious and is high yielding and resistant to all the things that we want it to be. So the new feature that everybody is talking about, because the music and link are so cool, cut to graphics. It's the map bit, no expense spent, it's the map bit. So here we are, we're at Has-Been Towers and we're zooming out, just so you can see where we are in Staffordshire, and then we're going to zoom out to see the whole of the UK. And then we're going to zoom, there's a lot of zooming going on, we're going to zoom across to Brazil. So here we see the huge country of Brazil, which is massive. At the top you can see São Judas, which is in Bahia, but we're interested in Minas Gerais. And here you can see Cachoeira, Inglaterra in the bottom left. Cachoeira is just there, and then we're zooming into Lagoa, which is straight in front of you. And that is the place of where Lagoa is. It's the map bit, no expense spent, it's the map bit. I like them having it. So it's time for the Wheel of Death, and this week it's going to be, or is it that way? I can never remember. Macchiato, which simply means marked or stain in Italian. It's an espresso that is marked, stained with milk. So 1 shot of espresso, a small amount of milk, a little bit, it's kind of, some people will use hot milk, some will use foamed milk. I tend to switch between the two, whichever I'm doing. Yeah, but usually around about a teaspoon of milk. So you should give this coffee a try as a macchiato. And yeah, before I go and make my macchiato and my brewed, I reckon we should do some numbers to wrap it up. So the coffee is called Fazenda Lagoa, or the farm is called Fazenda Lagoa. The coffee is called Fazenda Lagoa Yellow Icatu Pulp Natural. It is a yellow Icatu varietal, funnily enough, and it is a pulp natural. It is grown at an altitude of 950 to 1200 metres, which is fairly typical for Brazil, not massive altitudes in Brazil. Owned by Marcelo Vieira, near to the city of Alfinas in the Sul de Minas area of Minas Gerais. Right, I'm going to whap you on pause, I'm going to go make drinks, and I shall be back with you in just a second. Okay, so I'm back. I'm going to dive straight into the espresso. Now, the first thing you notice about this espresso is the mouthfeel. It's incredibly buttery. I mean, melted butter and caramel. This is beautiful sweetness there. A delicious espresso. But then Pulp Natural Brazils, like, lend themselves so well to espresso. So now I'm going to go into the macchiato. So a teaspoon of foam milk on top of a single espresso, sorry. And if espresso is too intense for you, if it's too much, if you kind of like wince a little bit at it, this is a great way to introduce yourself to espresso. That just makes it even more silky and buttery. I'm actually looking forward to trying this in the milk now, so. Okay, I'm a bit disappointed after the macchiato. Again, all of those flavours, so think melted butter, think caramel, think sweet, think smooth, think balanced. But yeah, it's better as the macchiato. So, time for the brewed version. So I pop that there. I love brewed coffee. I'm a sucker for it. For this, it changes a little bit. So it gets a very classic kind of nutty side, again, that I expect from Great Brazils. So the caramel, a little bit of nutty, and that butteriness kind of turns into a popcorn butteriness. So a little shoulder of saltiness, which I don't like in coffee normally. Saltiness for me normally makes me run away. But I think that's where the popcorn link comes from for me, because it just takes a little bit more of a savoury edge to that butteriness than it did the first time. And again, mouthfeel is phenomenal. It's a very easy drinking coffee. Very, very easy. Right, so some numbers. Called Fazenda Lagoa Icatu, Yellow Icatu. It's a pulp natural. It's grown at an altitude of 9,500 to 1,200 metres, owned by Marcelo Vieira, close to the city of Alfinas, which is in the Sul de Minas area of Minas Gerais. And yeah, I think it's a great coffee, and I'm really happy that I've been able to share this one with you. Right, time to wrap up. Bit shorter than last week's. Sorry for last week's being so long, but it seems that most of you enjoyed it and you forgave me for it being long. Yeah, life is too short for bad coffee.